Attorney General Merrick Garland will have to make the final decision over whether to indict Donald Trump. And as we showed you last night, Attorney General Garland on Saturday, knowing that the whole world is watching his decision about whether to indict a former president, said this.
The protection of law, the rule of law, is the foundation of our system of government. The rule of law means that the same laws apply to all of us. The responsibility to ensure the rule of law is and has been the duty of every generation in our country's history. And it is one that is especially urgent today at a time of intense polarization in America.
Joining us now is Professor Lawrence Tribe, who has taught constitutional law at Harvard Law School for 5 decades, where his students have included Merrick Garland, among others. Professor Tribe, thank you very much for joining us tonight. What do you make of the developments of the day in the Trump case, and what will ultimately be Merrick Garland's view of this case?
Well, it seems to me that the developments of the day were all designed to make clear that the rule of law that Merrick Garland so thoughtfully spoke about when he was introducing new citizens to the United States of America, that the rule of law is going to prevail. A split screen would have shown that almost at the same time that Merrick Garland was giving that speech praising the rule of law, Donald Trump was addressing a rally, and he was embracing QAnon, and he was saying in no uncertain terms that if they come after me, then there's going to be hell to pay. There will be violence. There will be terrible problems. And he's speaking to a crowd that is giving what looks frighteningly like a Nazi salute. They're raising their hands with one finger, cheering this monstrous speech. It seems to me that what happened in the courtroom today was what happens when grown-ups take over. You know, Andrew Weissman compared it to the feeling that an astronaut might have on returning to Earth. I think of it as the feeling that I had when sort of returning from the fantasy land of watching Judge Cannon ignore all the canons of the law and simply doing what seemed sensible to her in order to help Donald Trump, returning from that fantasy land to the classroom that I used to teach in, where the law actually had something to do with the outcome. That was like returning to Earth. And it seems to me that because Donald Trump's lawyers clearly have no case to press, they say, we're just not ready to tell you whether any of these documents have been declassified, even though our client on what he calls Truth Social hints that they were. And the judge quite rightly presses and says, but didn't your client bring this lawsuit? Isn't it his burden to establish that he has some basis to get these documents back rather than have them protected as secrets that belong to the government? When that happened, it really seemed to me that the game was up. And what does it all mean? What it all means is that quite apart from whatever indictments come down from Georgia and quite apart from whatever indictments come down for attempting to overturn the election and fomenting a violent insurrection, it's impossible not to indict Donald Trump for violating the Espionage Act, for violating it by withholding top secret government information knowingly, willingly, after being advised by his lawyers that that these documents had to be returned to the government, and for doing that in an unsecure location. That's a very serious crime, not just a technical crime. It's not just a matter of some dispute over storing things in one locker rather than another. This is espionage, and it endangers the security of the United States. So Merrick Garland won't have any choice. It used to look like a hard decision for him. Now it's really quite an easy one. It's going to be tough for the nation to swallow, but even tougher for all of us in the long run would be to swallow the specter of someone violating the national security laws of the United States and getting away with it. That just can't be the law. And I think what we saw in a serious courtroom today, presided over by a mature judge who knows what he's doing, what we saw is a glimpse of what is going to come down, and that is Donald Trump will finally, for the first time in his life, be held accountable. And I think the United States will be the better for it.
The Trump lawyers have argued themselves into a truly terrible corner where they find themselves in writing today saying the way to find out whether these documents are classified or not is to put Donald Trump on trial. They actually invite it. And I think of you as you're a most highly experienced appellate expert we could have here. Lawyers in appeals cases have to be so careful of every single word they choose, and to find themselves writing down into that corner where they end up saying at the end of the sentence, or in a trial, it would seem they should do everything they can to make sure they don't end up saying that.
You would think that, and I doubt that they are getting any very kind comments from their client, Donald Trump, this evening. I mean, he obviously must think with friends like these, I don't know what it would mean to have adversaries. It also happened, by the way, today when 11 attorneys general, Republican attorneys general, filed a brief on behalf of Donald Trump in the 11th Circuit, saying that the ruling by Judge Cannon should not be stayed, that she did the right thing. Her injunction against the use of the seized materials to investigate Trump should be left in place. But they didn't make any legal arguments. They didn't make any factual arguments. It was all ad hominem. What they said, basically, and I read it with astonishment, what they said was, you can't trust the Biden administration. The Biden administration has done lots of terrible things, whereas Donald Trump is essentially above the law. That is, they were defending Judge Cannon's quite open statement that you have to give special privileges to a civilian who happens to have been the former president. This was in the form of a friend of the court brief, but really it was a friend of Donald Trump's brief, not really helping the court in any way. And I thought, again, with friends like that, Donald Trump really doesn't need any enemies, because the attorneys general who thought they were helping him were just underscoring the fact that the only way to rule for Trump, the only way to spare him from an indictment and a conviction, is to put him above the law and put the Department of Justice below the law. And that would be the end of the rule of law and of democracy. That's not where we're headed. That's where Trump would like to see us go, but I don't think we're going there.
Harvard Law Professor Lawrence Tribe, thank you, as always, for guiding us through this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.